let's let's get it set up. Okay. I will only speak on the pieces that I'm capable of responding to. Let's go. Okay. I'm going to pull this up. Let's see exactly what is spoken about. Now, of course, let's go. I thank you all for tuning in once again to Smitty's Corner. Respect to you. So let's go ahead and see what this married couple, which there are a lot of different factors I've never heard of here. So we'll see what we got. Let's go ahead and pull it up and let's listen.
I feel like I'm doing really well in my life as a man. I'm detaching, I'm taking care of myself, I've been reading books, right? I'm watching these videos, I'm watching these calls, I'm here doing my men's work. And it seems like my wife's attitude is getting even worse. Why is that happening? I thought this was supposed to get better if I do this work. We're going to talk about that today here on the C Note Show.
So, for men who work on themselves, what generally takes place in the woman's mind? Now, the only thing that I would say to that briefly is this: we all are aware women think different. It's always going to be different. It's just so, however, us as men, however it is that we're processing whatever progress may be going on or what have you, she more than likely does not view it and see it in the way in which you do. Let's keep on going.
With myself, not only is relationship a science, but it's mostly an art. Loving and being loved is an art, and that's what Cynthia and I believe in. We teach the Kingly Life Path framework and level 3 of deep conscious intimacy. If you've seen our stuff, our last call was about connecting with your wife in 30 seconds. So after this, you can go back and watch our previous video. We have lots of YouTube videos. And today I'm detaching, but my wife's attitude is getting even worse. So Cynthia, we get this question a lot, especially in the first, let's say, month or 2 or 3 months of a man doing this work. He's reading books. He's starting to go to the gym more often. He feels like he's not asking her as many questions.
Now I would say there will always be different factors in how a man goes about educating himself further. For the man who knows himself knows that the only way to educate himself further is to know what it is that he needs to get a good grasp on. That man will know what his strengths are. So he will know, I don't need to take that course. That part's not necessary. We've been there, done that. We're beyond and past that point. That man will also then turn around and really dive deeper into what it is that he knows his shortcomings are. That's, I would say, from what I see. Now let's keep on rocking out. Ambiance.
He's just trying to be pleasant when he sees her sort of day to day. And she still wants space, or she wants him to know that, hey, this doesn't fix everything. And it seems as though she gets pretty damn nasty at times. And he's wondering, why is this happening? So he's stepping back in a healthy way, hopefully, right, guys?
Exactly. It's not a walk away from. It's not a I'm just going to ignore you now because you have an attitude. No. I thoroughly observe and I recognize this is not the time, because men of discernment know situational awareness. And we know when it's that time to just, you know what? Maybe it's better we talk a day or two later, not right this moment. It might go left, and I don't want it to, because I value peace just as much as you do.
And doing his own stuff, but she's getting angrier and pushing and lashing out. And what is that about, first blush? And we're going to get into this today, please.
Yeah, I mean, the bedrock behind her behaviors can have a lot of different layers to it, but at first blush, what's happening is you're changing the energetic dynamic between the two of you. And the feminine does get a lot out of kind of pushing back at someone or blame. It actually gives her a sense of feeling stable, if not grounded, in the midst of a storm, emotional storm that she's in.
So what I'm picking up thus far, now mind you, my brain as a man, I'm only going to operate and pick this up, but in a certain way. So what I'm getting is, because that woman desires peace, I'm gonna say it like things to be soft and fluffy, things to be understanding, overstanding. When those storms of discussions occur, that might not be the strong point for some women. Who knows? Maybe it's a total different everything. But let's just keep on listening. You know, I think what I'd rather do is, I think I would rather just respond on the men's side. I don't think I want to respond on the women's side, because I don't even like trying to break down how a woman thinks, because it's so far beyond how I think. So what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to fall back. I'm going to humble myself, and I'm going to go ahead and do this right here. So let's go ahead and rock out. I digress. My mic is muted. Let's go.
If you're shifting that, she's losing something that's making her feel more stable, something that's making her feel some sense of power, or there's also the uncertainty she's been having all this time is kind of bleeding out, kind of like magma bubbling to the surface.
The only question that I believe me and most men ask is this: before it bleeds and bubbles out, I mean thoroughly. I don't mean just in like a brush by of a discussion. Thoroughly. Has she been openly communicating X, Y, and Z? Now, I know dealing with real women only, they do communicate. Even then, dealing with real women only, still, their form of communication could still, let's say, get a glitch in the matrix when it comes to that man receiving exactly what you're saying, to the intent and seriousness of what it is that you're saying. And with that being said, I digress. My mic is muted. Let's keep listening.
Isn't this what she's wanting though? Didn't she say she wants space? She's unsure about things. That's what most women have said to the men that are here.
Have you not heard that, fellas? I want some space. Have you not heard going into marriage relationships could be scary? I know I have. And I also know for a fact that I responded by saying, I'm so confident you got all the space in the world to be as timid or whatever as you want, because all I'm gonna do is pull you close and tell you everything's gonna be just fine. But the only way that I can show you that everything will be just fine is throughout time. Let's keep on rocking out
here. So I'm giving her what she says that she wants, but now where's this coming from?
There's like two sides to that coin. There is I think there's the human nature side where we are clinging so hard to something that we want because it's going to fix how we feel inside. It's going to fix how she feels inside. And so suddenly when she's receiving that, she's receiving what she thought was the fix. Suddenly she still feels the uncomfortable emotions. And on the other side of that, change is scary for the feminine. And
I definitely agree. I'm sorry, I agree with that. Because I've heard it. I've seen it. I've seen how the words that was so passionate has turned into, I don't know it. But is that a bad thing? Not if you know women. Those of us men who know how much a woman's mind, feelings, what she wants to do for the day, we all know that these things can fluctuate. So when you're a man of wisdom, as in you just observe continuously and then move accordingly, you know, okay, I know your space is important, so I'm going to give you that. Why? Because I listened to what you said. I'm listening. I heard you. So now I'm going to reciprocate that. But this can be the tricky part at times. Then a day later or so, just maybe, she can say, you're not paying enough attention to me. You're not acknowledging me enough. Sometimes that can happen. So is that a bad thing? No, not to us men who know how much a woman's decisions can go back and forth. And the only reason why that is because that woman ultimately wants to make the best decision possible. Now, what can also make it tricky is that man not knowing how to keep up with the fluctuations of that woman's emotions and what it is that she feels a drive for, or what it is that she feels as if she needs to fall back from. Why? Because we are generally supposed to just know, and we just don't. We only know what you communicate. And why is that? Because the way men process life will always be different than the way a woman processes life. Which is better? Neither. Which is better, the engine or the car? Or does the engine need the car and the car need the engine? And does it not make itself complete when all cylinders are working? I'll leave that for you to answer. Let's keep on going.
Might be moments that the things you're doing differently kind of wash over her like a relief, like taking a big drink of water. Like, oh, God, this feels so much better. And she doesn't trust that yet, either from the current relationship dynamics or even way in the past. And so that can be really scary for her and kind of put her into hyper alert.
Oh, and shout out to the couple in the building. Much respect to you.
Yeah, certainly. So let's unfold this even more. What is detachment? Psychology Today, this article, Detaching with Love is Good for Everyone. Distancing yourself from other people's problems isn't selfish or cruel. These are just a few excerpts from that article. Detaching is good for you. You need to detach when you're so wrapped up in other people's pain and problems that it's negatively impacting your physical or emotional health. You're not sleeping or eating normally. You have headaches or stomach aches. You're tense, distracted, irritable, depressed, preoccupied, worried, and so on. Detaching reminds us that we can control ourselves. And when we focus on what we can control, we will begin to see positive results and our hope will be restored. We will once again feel empowered to change the things we can. Detaching is good for others. You may be wondering, isn't detaching mean or selfish? No, it isn't. We don't detach to punish others or because we're angry at them. Detachment is about self-preservation.
Absolutely. Now, you know what's crazy? A lot of people generally will take detachment as like a forever thing, like that means I have to disappear and you have to disappear. No. You can detach by just going off and doing what it is that you like to do. You see, you can detach that way. So let's keep on listening, because honestly, this is a very good discussion. I digress. My mic is muted. Let's keep rocking on.
It's also a way to love others, even if they probably won't see it that way. If you're constantly hovering, worrying, telling them what to do, or rescuing them, they never have the opportunity to learn how to make decisions, solve their problems, and learn from their mistakes. When you do these things, you're creating dependency, which isn't helpful or kind. And we hear that from the men. They say, their wives often say, I haven't learned to be on my own, or you've always controlled me. I chuckle because the stories get really nasty at times, right?
Yeah.
But she, at the heart of it, wants to feel freedom. She wants to feel a more control over her own self. Maybe she wants to.
And with that, that is why I'm very, very well learned in space. You should have that time to yourself. You know, I've even made it very clear, like any relationship ever getting into, I make it thoroughly known. I'm going to want to spend time in the man cave. I'm going to have times where I go fishing. No, I don't want you to go with me. Is it because my side chick, little bunny, or whatever the heck these dudes do, is that because she's going to be there? No. Matter of fact, my main homie's not going to be there. I literally just want to sit on the pier by myself. just for an hour or two and regenerate, recoup, think again, you know? Like just woosah from everything. The only thing I want to focus on is my, my lures and flicking my rod. No one's gonna be there. And I'm not answering my phone for at least an hour or two. You want to know why? Because I know when I come back, I will be so receptive to anything that you have to say. There will be nothing I won't listen to. Those who know me know that is my MO. I'll step off in a heartbeat and give you your space. Just don't turn around and make that man seem or feel as if he's not being as receptive, because he actually listened to you and he agrees because he feels the exact same way. When you say you just want your space for a second, that man just might feel the exact same way. Let's keep on going.
Make her own money now. Maybe the kids are older and she feels like she missed out on some of her life. Let's make this even harder. A lot of what I just said are sort of traditional masculine type of energies. I want to make money. I want to feel control. I want to feel freedom. I want to kind of live it up. I want to feel like I can do whatever
I don't know about the whole masculine energy part. I did hear that thrown in there. I would say this. I do believe that a woman, when in a position where she has to toughen up at times, that's not being masculine. That's just that woman. Hello? Mic check. Okay. That's just that woman moving and responding accordingly. That's it. If she's in an environment where she can't be all like, hi, how's everybody? She can't be that right now. And because of her situational awareness, she knows this. So if whatever reason, whether environment and community, career space, online, whatever, if they put on a certain mode and face, 9 times out of 10, that mode and that face it's for a reason, whether you agree with the reason or not, but it's not for nothing. Let's keep on going.
I want less so of what are traditionally feminine, of relationship and closeness and nurturing and expression. So what is it about a woman in that phase that is more likely to show anger, what we're talking about today? Why is she more likely to be this way, even worse, have an even worse attitude when he's detaching, if those are not really what her maybe soul is wanting? Most people are not aware in relationship of the polarity of masculine and feminine, which we talk about. And simply, that's what attracted us to each other in the first place.
Facts. The reason why I just might have attracted to that woman in the first place is simply because of the polar opposite of what I know I consist of that she carries. I don't need her to be tough. As a matter of fact, I want to be tough enough for the both of us. I just want you to stay exactly how I met you. Receptive, right? Listening ear, open arms to what it is that man is saying to you. You see? So let's keep on going.
Right? How are we being when we first met? Often not showing all of our own selves, often not understanding our own selves. And through this challenge, through this time, and you doing your work as a man, that's why you're here. It's why you're watching this. That's why you're studying and reading and doing the stuff, is because you want to grow. You want to learn more about yourself. You want to learn how to be peaceful and joyous and contented within your own self.
Actually, for the record, I came into relationships and friendships, business partnerships, networking, because I already have mastered those things. I've been through more than enough. I've seen more than enough. And I've had more than enough time to myself. Period. At the point in life in which I've reached that stage of finally, I can give out. Finally, I can be more receptive and I have more time. Finally, I do have more wisdom. So if it is needed from those amongst me, I have something of value to offer because I've been through that and back. It's a reason. It's a reason why you go through what you go through. It's not because there's something wrong with you, but let's keep going.
Not all over the place, or retreating to the bathroom at work and crying in the bathroom at work because your marriage is in fucking shambles and you don't know what to do, which I've been there. Right? So if we as men are wanting to be more grounded and peaceful, we would think, well, isn't she wanting to fulfill more of her nature, her soul, what she truly desires? But it doesn't seem like that's what's happening in this phase. It seems like,
yes, exactly. It seems like no. Now, ladies, please do take note. This is only the response of what most men possibly could be in the position of. It's believed that what we start off with and that pink cloud feeling that we put you all on, sometimes it can feel like if that man does not keep you, keywords, sometimes it can feel that way. We are fully aware that possibly is not the case, but it could feel like if we're not upholding to that Prince Charming rode in on the black horse on the beach shore to pick you up, and if we don't maintain that fully, then we just turn into the rest of them. You see? Whole T, what that man believes that he's doing, that's like, yeah, nah, we good. No, because she's not possibly thinking what you're thinking at that moment. And unfortunately, nowadays, communication just throughout humans in its entirety is very, very shaky, very, very rocky. That's all. So with that part, I would say it's no one person's fault. It's not my fault. It's not your fault who's listening. And it's not whoever's fault is, not listening. It's just the conditioning of humanitarian communication. It's just the conditioning. It's not as open and thorough as it always used to. There is a lot of, so what are you really saying? There is a lot of very, very short time for you to be able to make an impression. Communication ain't what it used to be. Now, some people will say, well, yeah, that has to do with social media, emojis, texting, whatever. I'm not here to get all into that. I just want to make it clear that the way a man processes, receives, and relays information will always be different from that man's counterpart. Via the woman, it's going to be different, but neither is better than the other. Let's keep on listening.
Like, she's just pushing away and wanting to feel free and away from the family, away from the marriage connection, which is not what we knew of her, not what we've known of her heart. So what's that about to begin with?
Well, I think there's a great falseness that women can fall into. They imagine that their freedom, their being in their own masculine, will be such a relief from just the feelings of being a woman. And so they imagine that freedom is just, I don't have to feel attached. I don't have to feel like I owe anyone anything.
And for the record, look, I definitely am fully aware that my check 1 2. There we go. Okay. I'm fully aware that there are, different dynamics in its intricate way that comes with our relationships as Black people and everybody else. The reason why I pulled this video up, because there's so much that I hear that transcends the boundaries of race. What I'm hearing is relationship. I'm dead ass when I say I'm not seeing color on this. And I want to make that clear. Like, if you really just listen, it's a lot being said that anybody who's lived long enough can relate to in some form or fashion. So let's be educated. I digress. My mic is muted. Let's go.
Anything. I don't have to feel like I'm constantly kind of the river. My water is going into your riverbanks, and I'll truly know myself. And the falseness of that is, once she gets to that side, and if she doesn't have then your masculine energy to keep pushing against, all of a sudden that energy is going to feel really lonely to her, and it's not as satisfying. And there is going to be a craving in her heart for the connection, the thing she
I will admit, although that is the first time I would say I've heard it just, I guess you could say pieced together in that motion, in that fashion. Everything she said, I definitely have just heard overall, just from women. I have. Period. And I've never dated a white woman a day in my life. And that is not, it's not, it's just, that's why I say I can see past the racial aspect. And I just hear relationship. What she's saying, that is something I hear my sisters say. They may word it different, but I get the gist of the message because I'm a man who has paid attention long enough to know when I'm hearing what I've heard before. Let's keep on going.
Must grow through, and the thing that she has to take responsibility for is, it feels vulnerable for her to be in her feminine. And so the more you show up in that grounded masculine place for her, the more she might even feel her own vulnerability to that, her own softness, her
Let me say this after she's done.
own wateriness. And so she's either trying to prevent herself from doing that, or the newer kind of vulnerability even scares her a little bit.
The thing is this, like, I can't for a second even begin to act like I don't recognize everything she just said as a man who has heard his woman speak multiple times. Right? The thing is that void of masculinity, what you got to recognize, ladies, a lot of times what us as men, how we observe it and see it is like this. We start off and we come out the gate and we know it's that beautiful combination of like, he got the bad boy edge, but he's educated. He's not a dumb brain, right? Boom. Then once we get with you and then we're with you, what sometimes generally can happen is now we gotta try to figure out how to maintain the balance of being as I'll say, I don't know, docile, right? We gotta be like this hardcore, don't take but / docile guy. And a lot of men don't know how to balance that. You see, I'm not saying it's either I'm all the way rah, 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 or I'm all the but that when you want the tougher side of me, when you desire and need for me, be the more softer, docile side of myself, going back to the fluctuation of knowing how a woman's mind at times can work, sometimes that can be a little tricky. Now, guess what? All of that is eliminated after what process? After what process does that man just know that woman and she doesn't have to say anything? After enough time spent in the physical presence, that man has to know what your facial expressions are when you upset in that grocery store line, and and as y'all walking out, he like, yeah, I saw it. Those little things, that's what time, nothing else will bring that. You can possibly always come across somebody who comes out the gate saying the most wonderful things, on point, all of that. When you talking about longevity, it's time. Period. Time and communication. Let's keep on going.
Yeah, thank you. We definitely want to get into your questions, and I have a couple that men emailed me recently too. Doesn't everyone, and isn't that horrible to feel powerful by blaming? That's a good point. One of the tests, right? One of the challenges, guys, is to not be pushed over in the face of someone else's upset. And if it's our 2-year-old child or the family pet, the dog isn't happy right now, or the cat vomited on the carpet, we usually don't take those things very personally. It's like, okay, I'm gonna need to clean this up, or my 2-year-old wants candy and it's not time for candy. And you're able to handle that pretty well. But when our wife points and blames us for these horrible things, we're not ready for her to stand up in the canoe in the middle of the lake. We feel like we're gonna go over, or we are tipping over. We do.
Basically, sometimes, possibly, that man can feel as if things are going to go left. It's like one of those things, especially if you are a man who has seen and gone through enough. When you about to crash. You can tell by the energy, the tempo, and everything. And a lot of times Those of us men who truly do desire peace, we don't want confusion. We don't want you to feel some kind of way. We actually do want you to be at comfort. We want you to be at a state of peace. Now, the only way for that to take place is when that man genuinely and honestly presents that. If that woman is not at that moment receptive to it, that same man will not turn around and try to blast that woman like, see, I do all of this for you and blah, blah. We don't say none of that. You know what we do? We just try our best to step off quietly, but we make it very, very clear. I'm right here. I'm right here. You see? You know, the main thing that I hear from everything throughout these discussions is it's going to vary. It's going to vary relationship to relationship, individual to individual, moment to moment. It's not one of those things. It's just always going to be just like this clear black and white. Let's keep on listening.
Feel like we're tipping over. And so the blame, I don't know about you guys, but my mind will go to places of blame at times. I'll blame whatever's in front of me. I'll blame my lack of time. I'll blame the demand on my work schedule.
Big facts. Most of the time, and I'm only speaking of the grade and quality and cut cloth of the men that I know, that I am myself. Yo, when things aren't right, we go off and we take time and we think about ourselves first, even if that man blew up in the heart of the whole back and forth. I promise you, when that man steps off and y'all have that moment of separate, that man thinking about his actions. He's not sitting there cussing you out. Well, he might be, but after he thoroughly goes through his mind and he says, what was my part to play in this? I'm not going. Listen, when we love you, when we truly care about you, we are going to make sure, like, yo, whatever it is that's going on, I want to replay it in my head, motion for motion, word for word, the whole nine. And you know, it's a lot of times we'll be sitting back and thinking, and we'll even say to ourselves, you know what, damn, nah, I did say, damn, you know what, I could have had, yeah, okay, all right. So then when we finally come back to the table with things, I'm more calm, you more calm, the storms died down, right? We got a nice little rainbow. And then we talk. The number one thing I want to make very clear at some point is I do see where my part to play came in. I see it. I get, like, when I was thinking about it, when I played it back in my head, I get where you coming from. A lot of times, us as men, that's exactly what we do. We will think about what did I do first before we just try to flip it to, oh, it has to be something with you. Nah. I'm going to think about me first. I'm not about to point fingers, because men of wisdom and discernment know when I point one at you, 3 point back at me. Let's keep going.
I blame the neighbor for putting the fence too close to our property line, or bitching about the leaves that blow over into the, like the elk that walk through our yard every year and shit all over. There's a lot of things that I can blame. And when our woman blames us, we really think it's true. And most of the time it's not really true.
I'm sorry. Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious. Sometimes that is the affirmation, because I know I'm not the only one. And you be saying to yourself, like, I know I'm not tripping. I know I'm not tripping. It's crazy.
True. And let's flip the table over a minute. I don't want this to seem like, one person's all good, another person's all evil or anything like that, because we all have these same blaming thoughts is where I'm going with this. What is it that when a woman's getting worse? So if I'm getting better as a man, if you're watching this or here.
I will say this, 18. Yes. And yes, watch this. No and no. So boom. Well, not even no and no. I would say yes and yes, both and both. To say that a woman has, it's like logic is like solely for men. To me, it's equivalent to if women tried to reserve all copyrights on emotions. So what that mean? I'm not supposed to feel nothing. So if I as a man would say, hey, I feel too, who am I to then turn around and say to you as a woman, we got logic copywritten, y'all got emotions, we got logic. No, it's something that anybody of enough experience, wisdom, it's no way for you not to encompass both. The number one thing is making sure that you actually consistently control both. Don't let one tip too much over the other. Don't have so much logic that you numb your emotions to the point where you don't sympathize and or empathize, because the situation has to strictly be math and logic and and don't be so over emotional to where you can get tricked back and you didn't use your wisdom. Every human should encompass both. Let's keep on going.
And you're getting better as a man, more grounded. And she seems to not actually like that we're getting better. Mm. Where might that come in this idea of blame for you?
Listen, all I'm going to say is, hold on, let me count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ain't that something? And it just so happens to be 7 words. The last 7 words. That's beyond fact. The things that 2 weeks down a week, 4 days from now, the only thing us as a man knows is that we weren't talking for a few days, or and it's a lot of times it really be some nothing stuff that I'm not going to ignore that. I cannot. I would be so disingenuous if I was to act like I have not gone through so many times of that right there. Man, it's crazy. Let's go.
Your opinion.
Yeah, I'll just go back to you kind of saying, isn't this really horrible that there's this human condition. And yeah, judgment and blame can create a dopamine cycle. And I think any of us, but particularly women, if they're feeling a great deal of depression or anxiety and they don't have their own kingly eye, their own masculine frame to move themselves out of that, they're going to go for what is, how can I improve the emotional state? How can I feel better? And she can get almost addicted to the cycle of resentment, not because in her highest self, that's what she's always wanted relationship to be, but she's kind of stuck in that pattern that resenting you and blaming you gives her something. And I think
there are times where, yeah, definitely. But now, mind you, I'm so fully aware that sometimes everything is not a blame. Sometimes things are a genuine concern. Now, I think we need to not conflate the two. Don't conflate the two between someone accusing you and blaming you and someone just simply wanting to keep the doors of communication open. That can vary. That can go back and forth, right? That happens. So we have to continuously remember that let me put it like this before I push play. This is a fact, and I only know this from hearing in person as well as just listening to online discussions. The relationships that last, the relationships that are the strongest, are the relationships where both parties are just as interested in the progression, the care for, the love, the communication of their counterpart. Period. No man can love you for the both of y'all. And I don't mean you don't love yourself, as in, when it comes to that part, that burden or that weight is to totally be put on him. When you connect with the person, when two become one, those two who became one should be subsequently a fusion and stronger. Let's think about it. I know we're about to go anime. Goku, Vegeta. The fusion is stronger than the separation. Piccolo and Kami. The fusion is stronger than the separation. That is why the number one thing that is spoke about when it comes to successful relationships is interdependence. I can't be more interested in what you got going on. I have something going on, and it's just no applause or nothing. And vice versa. I can't be so into what I have going on that I like, you got a whole business you starting, you doing this, you doing that, like you working on so many different things, right? But like, if I actually don't really give you that push as far as I'm supposed to be your biggest cheerleader, I'm supposed to support and help push you forward the most, because I'm supposed to want to see that for you, right? Let's keep on going.
Seeing that for what it is an incredible opportunity as well to not play into that, but to also recognize that we all can fall into cycles of habitual dopamine thought processes. And because we can easily fall in, we can also fall out of them.
So how do we fall out of them? Like, I say play checkers. There's a one-on-one client I'm working with. It's been about 4 months, 3-4 months. His wife moved out right when he found this work. His wife had moved out, moving towards divorce. And now,
shout out to the plants. That's not fake. That's a real plant. We know our stuff. Shout out to the plants. Shout out to the green thumbs. Salute to the green thumbs.
they're back together again, sort of unofficially. Sex is happening, family time is happening, but they're still living apart. And she said, I don't trust you to talk me into coming back, is what she told him, because you're good with words and because you're a salesman. I don't trust your words, and I don't want you to try to talk me into coming back, is what she said right away. And he's not been pressuring her. He's been following this work. We've been doing one-on-one work. He's in the group. And she brought this up again a couple of weeks ago. And he told me that he sat there and listened and kind of nodded, paid attention, but literally did not say anything back to her. Just allowed her to say that out loud. He kind of just saw it as clouds passing in the sky or playing checkers, right? She just made a move on the checkerboard and he didn't need to say anything about it.
Discernment. I digress. My mic is muted.
So when a woman says, I don't trust you, and she's verbalizing these things and he stays quiet, confident in himself, not in fear, but
man, those words, confident in himself and has no fear of those words. Let's listen. Interesting.
Like, oh, these are clouds passing in the sky and I'm here to listen. I'm not going to try to fix this or take it personally necessarily, even though it's about me.
Yeah.
Well, I would say if that man loves you enough and if that man recognizes that you have a concern, I would say it is our duty to put our tool belt on to put you back at ease if possible. It just might be a circumstance where it's nothing we can do, but the one thing we can do is to just give you space. But if we then give you the space, please don't then turn around and say we're not being receptive or we're not paying enough attention. You see, that's all, because the only thing that man wants to do for you intentionally, innocently, is just allow the situation to disperse in a way of peace, but in a loving way. And for those of us men who do encompass that, but that woman has to want to receive that. We cannot force nothing on you, not even sex itself. Last time I checked, that will put you behind bars. We can't force nothing on you. We can only present what it is that we consist of, what we have, and go from there. Let's keep on rocking out.
what's going on there for her?
Well, there is an element of, I would say, that's positive that she would actually say that out loud. It's positive that she is attributing, hey, I know you have skills and I know I can be easily swayed by them. That's a really big level of self-awareness in her. And for her to...
I'm going to say it. That is the part where race plays a factor. Sister's not doing all that. Nope, not my sisters. They're not going to tell you all that. See, in my sister's eyes, that's doing too much, Becky. Becky, that's doing too much. You see, I get exactly what you're saying, but nah, 9 times out of 10, that's not gonna happen. Let's go.
Say something, even if it's like crushing and not fair and confusing, and then to be met with something that you and your masculine presence do totally different than women can, like holding the space for that, but unflagged by it, unflapped by it. It gives her an opportunity to actually feel the trust, almost as if she's pouring some red paint on the mountain and then recognizing that the mountain doesn't budge, nor is anything taken away. It just is. And that's a really incredible, humbling, deeply reverent thing for that deep feminine spirit to feel, whether or not in that moment she can recognize that. Maybe it takes her a year to recognize that, but that's something she can't experience anywhere else.
Let's take a look at the chat here again. One challenge I'm finding is to balance detachment with support. She wants to empty her basket often, which I'm sure makes her feel better, but then I think she skips away happy that she feels better. Okay. And so what about that is a challenge for you in particular? Do you feel sort of used by that, or was that a challenge for you?
I think it means that like she gets a lot of what she's looking for out of our interaction, right? Like right now, she's not looking to be super intimate. She's feeling a lot of fusion in our lives. So we do come together, and there's like the Alison Armstrong basket emptying ritual that we have, which is generally sort of one-way communication. And then when the basket's empty, I think she's kind of like, oh, wow, I feel better. Like it's not malicious. She's not shitting on me or anything, but
And you know, it's crazy how us as men, like, even if that man does see, you know what, this dynamic is not as, I guess you can say, equally or fair as it might should be, we will real deal convince ourselves it is. We'll just say, F it. Nah, it's cool. I don't get to talk that much, but you know something. She is this, she is that, so on and so forth. And then what we do is we compromise with what it is that we know that we love about you so much. That's what we do. The men who really genuinely love their woman, yo, we will make every excuse in the world as to why that wasn't that bad. But in our heart of hearts, at that moment, it probably was. It probably was very insulting, whatever it might be. But as long as we know that there's that moment of clarity in a discussion, a lot of times, believe it or not, like that dude might be like, okay, it's all right. We know what's in the heart of our hearts, but that man just wants peace. He don't want your face screwed up at him. He don't want you looking at him any kind of way. That's not what that man wants. That's not what he desires. He heard something might be wrong and he said, oh, let me go get my tool belt, as in, let me problem solve with what it is I'm about to hear. Just like that man that loves when you tell him, hey, fix the screen door. Or, hey, we got a slight leak in a sink upstairs in the bathroom or something. Whatever it might be. Car needs detailing. We love to have a moment to say, there you go. Now I get to do what I do best. But most men, almost all men, were only capable of doing that in person. You'll never get that outside of that. It's difficult. Let's keep listening.
I hold the basket. She empties into the basket, and then she's kind of like, "Oh, that was great. Now we have too much fusion." So I think it's just balancing that like detachment and the availability of the basket holding, calibrated to like where we are in this process.
Sure. You said now there's too much fusing. Is that the concern?
Well, I think what's tricky is, if I'm there to hold the basket all the time, she never has to feel the discomfort of like me not being there to hold the basket. And so then she gets to empty her basket, and then she gets to sort of like that part of her feels good. And then so the things about our relationship that she doesn't feel good about, then she sort of sits with those, because she's been able to empty her life basket, all the things going on with her work and her friends and her family with me. So that stuff's all been heard. But I think it means she can then kind of focus on the negatives in our relationship or something. I'm not sure. I'm not articulating that well.
Yeah, it's okay.
Now watch this. I want you all to peep game, okay? I want you all to peep game. Did you hear how at the very end he said out loud, he said, I don't know if I'm articulating this the right way. You want to know what that right there was? That's a man that's just simply saying, I received it a certain way, but I don't know if I'm for certain if that's fully what it is that she meant by it. So we leave the door open for that part of it, you see? So it's like, I promise you, those of us men who really want to make sure that that woman receives everything she wants to receive, it's crazy, because there will continuously be changes, modifications in how that woman thinks, moves, and or expects. Will she be exactly who she is in the raw, beautiful essence? Absolutely. But like throughout time, if you think for a moment that the woman that you met at 25 and married will be the same woman at 30, and do you think that the same woman at 30 will be the same woman at 35, 40, 45, 50, so on and so forth? You have to know how to keep up with the natural, organic growth of that woman. She not gonna know that you're paying attention or not paying attention unless you move in accordance to how she sees you should be moving. Now, again, fellas, damn, I mean, should that be such a heavy burden on us? No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. You know, the only one thing that makes all of that a heavy burden, it's only one thing only. And that is when I'm done. Oh, so that only heavy burden is knowing when to be which side of us when you want us to be that side. You want the tough, you want them, super masculine, everything, but you also want that, took his index fingers and pushed his glasses up between his nose in a library cafe, open poetry night type side of us as well. We don't know exactly which day, morning, afternoon, week, month, or year you want which side from us. Will we get it right? Like, will we like actually like hit on the goal at times? Absolutely. Oh, we'll hit the goal. Will that man do it every single time? No. No, he won't. Does that mean he fell off of it or he doesn't care anymore? No. It just means that maybe he didn't realize we're not bowling down this lane. We moved over. Oh, okay. Let's keep on listening.
Let's explore this. So many pieces here, right? One is hopefully you're not just dropping work or whatever it is you're already doing to be immediately available, like she has you on fucking call or something. I don't think that's the case for you. So just to say that out loud for every man, you know, you're busy. You're a busy dude. You only have certain windows of time in your day to even listen to her in the first place. I hope that's the case. And then some men feel like she just vomits for 3 hours at a time or some very long amount of time, nastiness, and they just have to sit there and take it, which I don't think that's the case for you in particular, right? So I'll say that out loud. And then there's the concern.
And I will concur. No, that's not the case. No, not at all.
Of, well, if I'm only putting weight on one side of the scale, me listening to her and being comforting to her, and there's nothing on the other side of the scale, like attraction and polarized interactions and me inviting her into intimacy and saying, hey, Friday at 7:00, I'm looking forward to fucking your brains out. I want you to wear those black lacy panties that I want, or maybe something like that. Maybe it's not quite that direct, you know, but if you're not putting weight on the other side of the scale, yeah, you're just being, you know, her male girlfriend or something. And
boom. Watch. I want us to really pay attention to what it is that I'm saying right now. All right. So everything that he's saying, that man who loves that woman who loves that man, you know, that man, all of those things will be of automatic with time, active and adequate communication on all scales and level. You will get to the point where you know when she wants you to just bop, bop, bop. You will get to the point where you know, you know what? I think I gotta fix something in the shed. Cause you know to just get out of there. Get out of there right now. You're not gonna know none of those things until you know that woman. And the only way for you to ever know that woman is throughout the time to simply get to know that woman. That's it. Listen, did any of us, I mean, for the most part, just go from like, I don't know, like first grade to like 8th, and now we in college? Do we have stories like that? Yeah, some like, you know, young prophet, like genius, whatever. Let's take the average everyday student. What prepared them to handle college? Adequate time to learn grade school. What in college helped prepare them for real life? Adequate time to learn, study the course, and receive their degrees. A relationship is the exact same way. Period. Let's go.
and that's not what you want. So there's lots of pieces there. I totally get that. Which one of those am I hitting the nail on the head in any one of those ways in particular?
Thank you for simplifying my explanation. It's just like, she's getting her needs met, the needs that she wants right now, right? She doesn't want intimacy necessarily with me. So she's getting her needs met, the needs that she's willing to have met in our relationship, but I'm not getting mine. So.
And of course, these are things I've even been told to myself. If there's a circumstance where one party may feel as if they're being neglected, one party feels as if I'm doing everything for you, but I'm not being reciprocated in the same manner. Let me ask y'all a question. What is the number one reason why, if both of those circumstances are taking place at the same time, what is the number one reason as to why it will all fall and crumble? Does anybody know? Because one party feels one way, the other party feels another way, and they never talked it through. And I mean talked it through without finger pointing, without blame, none of it. That's all. If you're just as concerned about hearing how I think, what's going on in my mind, as I am in thinking about what is going on in your mind, why do you feel and think the way you feel right now? We should be just fine. I took time and I listened to what it is you expressing to me. And off rip, even if what was expressed was a bunch of lashing out at me because of something that your lady is not pleased in what you did. Well, what do? You listen. You don't throw shots at her and say, "Itch, you crazy, you tripping." Because if you're a man of wisdom and discernment, even though I don't see it that way, she sees it the way she sees it for a reason. It's a reason why. She not just tripping, although in our minds we would say, "Girl, you tripping right now." But we don't look at it that way. Nah, the only thing that we see is you have a concern about something. And I want to make sure that I go ahead and put whatever concern, doubts, worries, whatever, express to me what you're thinking. Oh, okay, that's what it, okay. Nah, I got you. So, XYZ, boom, boom, boom. That man will only say what he is saying to you because he wants to bring you peace. That man didn't step into your life to bring you like frustration and shit. It's far from that man's purpose. Now, how really to gauge what the purpose is? You can't get past time. Just like how if you get a deep enough gash, right? I'm talking about physically, an actual like a bad cut, right? It needed stitches and everything. You can't get past however many seconds, hours, minutes, weeks, months, days it's going to take for that to heal. You just, what do they say? Stop picking at it. Leave it alone. Let it heal. Why don't we take the wounds of what it is that we go through in this life the exact same way? Why not? Stop picking at it. How do you pick at it? When it's clear as day, peace wants to be had. Now, you know, a lot of these things I don't have too much of a desire to talk about, but sometimes you just gotta remind them.
Okay,
I think
and
that's
so
where, and I think I'm repeating a problem here that I've said to you a million times, and I think your answer is going to be like, you know, spend less time around her, which I just need to do.
well, that's not the only thing, and that's not what I go at first. So if I'm putting 100 pounds on this side of the scale and 0 on the other side of the scale, the fucking teeter-totter is going to be pointing into the sky, right? So maybe don't put 100 pounds on one side of the scale with your availability, the amount of time. You ask her, we won't get into the weeds about that, but if all you're doing is one side, that's trouble. That's
Yeah.
If you're not saying, hey, on Friday I want to have intimate time with you, which obviously you've been doing, you've been working with us for a long time at this point, I'm going on a year at this point.
So how does that work? Yes. A lot of times, all right, so I'm going to talk to men for this. I have nothing to say to the women on that, right? A lot of times we can get comfortable. You can get real comfortable, right? And what generally takes place during that moment of comfortability is complacent and not reeling that. Generally, men will see a circumstance is fine to us and we're like, I'm good. You know where the problem a lot of times falls in? Us not recognizing that woman possibly doesn't always look at it the same way. Now, what is our proof on this? Haven't we seen celebrity relationships where it wasn't finances? Well, none of that. Nah. Let me turn this down. There we go. It wasn't finances. It wasn't any of those things that deterred the relationship. It was at some point of the relationship, one party has one vision, the other party has another vision, and communication is not being had to where it should be, to the capacity in which it should be. Does that mean that man was not growing? Nope. Let's think about it. If communication is not being had between the two of them, it doesn't matter which party is the one that's not holding the communication. Now, I would put it on us as men more than the women. I mean, if things aren't going right, you are to make sure you do what you need to do to try to fix things. So let's just keep that straight. But like, if it is a glitch in that matrix, make sure you communicate and let it be known, so that way, if things finally and you get to that point, you do know. Oh, I've said that 1,000 times over. And that's how I see that part right there. Let's keep on rocking out. I'm going to let this play just for a few more moments, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this loose. Thank you.
Point. Now, you can also have Saturday morning coffee, which we've talked about many times, and you at 6 o'clock in the morning before the kids get up, you have coffee and you look out the window every Saturday morning. And this particular Saturday morning, you say, hey, I have a concern. I don't feel like my needs are getting met in our relationship. Now, that's a huge statement. And you don't start with that. Okay. You start with, hey, Friday, I want to your brains out. Or, hey, Friday, I want to go for a walk with you at sunset. And if she says, ew, why would I want to do that? Well, that's part of our relationship, getting together, intimate time. It's important to me. Intimacy.
Absolutely. Sometimes things can occur. Sometimes things take place. You know what's most important? Knowing whatever it is that you all need to do to work out the kinks. You know, a lot of times, man, it could be such like this. I mean, really, honestly, when you're talking about the grand scheme of things, when you're talking about like names on paperwork for like multi-thousands, if not hundreds of thousands on homes and everything else, that like you didn't say this the right way, or I felt some kind of way about what you said this day. Yo, those things become so trivial when you're dealing with somebody that you genuinely truly love. Should it be overlooked? Absolutely not. Don't overlook nothing. Don't ever overlook anything. Because you know something that's crazy? It's the snowballs that turn into the avalanches, right? So don't ever be fooled by that snowball while rolling. It's gonna collect. Once again, men of discernment, we get that. That'll never be something that like robs us of thought. Let's go.
Is important in my relationship with you. And she says, well, I don't want that right now. I don't want anything to do with you right now. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit, but I wanted to talk about this today. So let's press pause and we'll jump over some other angles on this. That's great. If she says, ew, gross, intimacy with you, don't ever bring up again. And that's misogynistic and patriarchal. I'm just throwing words. Stop mansplaining to me. Just throwing words out.
I'm gonna let him keep playing while I go ahead and do this real quick. I apologize. I was on mute. Let's go. I'm gonna pull something up exactly to what he's talking about.
I don't want to wear those panties ever again. Don't ever bring it up again. That's gross. I told you, give me space, leave me alone. Oh, by the way, can you listen to me vomit about work? Well, no, I'm not interested in a one-sided relationship per se, but I am a human being that cares for this woman and does want to, not just blow up the whole bridge necessarily, blow up the whole relationship necessarily. But if your needs aren't being met in the relationship, guys, and she's actively saying, ooh, gross, intimacy, get away from me, then she's demoted herself in your relationship. If she's saying, I don't want anything to do with intimacy or your...
Now, you know what makes that so difficult? Let me pull this back up. Give me 1 second, please. But then I would say that goes against everything from the word and all of that. Like the last time I checked, I think any man would truly value a woman of chastity. If that woman truly does value her chastity, I listen, let me just put it like, all right, because oh boy. So look, if we say that we don't want to be wifing up hoes, right? We don't want to wife up the thoughts and all these other names that we give women. We don't want them, right? When it comes to wifing up the whole nine. Okay, cool. So if you as a man know that you are going to marry that woman, and if that woman says out of her mouth, I want to wait till marriage before we have sex, how possibly then do you go against that? Because if that woman was to come out and be the one who, hit first night, all of this, and just doing all kinds of stuff, is it not possible that most men would not look at that woman as wife type? Think about the stories that most men say when it comes to the women that they didn't marry. Do they not come out and say, because she was throwing it at me too much? So which is it that we want? I don't know. You tell me. I'm just going by what it is that I normally listen to. Now let's keep on going.
Your needs or what you care about or what you think or anything about you, if I don't want anything to do with you, she's demoted herself in the relationship. She's not acting like your wife right now. And you shouldn't be treating her per se like your wife in this moment. You need to think about her in a different way. And maybe that's your girlfriend. Maybe that's you started dating again. Maybe it's the woman who's living in the same house right now that wants nothing to do with you. And in your mind, you got to stop seeing her as your wife, so to speak, in this moment, because she's not acting as your wife. So let's talk about that. If she's not acting as his wife, any man here, if she's saying, ooh, gross, get away from me, I don't care about your needs, how dare you bring up your needs, what do you mean? All you want is sex, you misogynistic, okay, she's demoted herself in the relationship. And if the man thinks of it that way, energetically, what's a healthy way for him to see that? It's like, oh, damn, Jeff, demote, what does that mean to demote her? Well, what are you seeing? And Cynthia and I work with men together and on our groups. So what are you seeing that I mean there that's going to be healthy actually long-term for the relationship? How do you see that?
Yeah. And I'm feeling in the moment, and I've heard on this call too, how much it can feel like the feminine wants to gets away with using your masculine container and demoting her, or I would even say taking the third entity of the relationship and giving it more respect and more vision than that allows her to respect the energy that you give, your castle walls for her, your container, because that is a cornerstone of a woman, of the feminine, feeling polarized with you, to respect and honor your masculine energy, which she doesn't just get to take or have or assume. There's every part of this that also includes her learning she can share with you, and that's good and okay. But in terms of that scale, what you offer is gold, and it doesn't just get to be given. The feminine also needs to show up for that space.
Let me see. What do I get from that? That's just, man. You know how it's like, there'll be moments where guys would ask, should we match a woman's energy? I say no. No. You should stay the man that you are. That's what you should do. Now, I would also say what that part match, the feminine energy needs to match. Not turn the feminine energy into masculine, and don't turn the femininity into masculine energy. No. Match the energy as far as how the batteries face in a device. One face one way, one the other. We match the energy by you placing yourself in what makes you beneficial to this moment. I place myself into what makes me beneficial for this moment, and then we go ahead and rock out from there. Wow. Let's keep on listening.
For what you offer, for how valuable it is.
So she needs to show up in that space. Say more about that. How do you mean?
I mean, we could take that energetically, that when she gets to pour into your container, even if it's kind of the vomiting the day, that at the end of that, there's a feminine in her that returns. There's an appreciation. There's a softness in her. There's a taking in that what you've done for her has been deeply appreciated. And
I mean, I can say I do agree with those points there. What she reciprocates to you a lot of times can be so huge in how it is that we look at things. But honestly, so far, yeah, so good. We're going to listen to this last piece. I'm not even going to talk during this part. I don't know. Maybe I'll do something. Let's go.
I know that can be confusing in terms of how do I know that she's doing that? But that's part of her showing up, is the actually receiving what you're giving her. And sometimes when this...
I can't front. That's the last pause. I'm so sorry. I never heard that before, but it sounds like it makes all the sense in the world. She is showing up to be there to receive what it is that you have for her. That's not just to like buy me something. No, the love, the acknowledgement, the principalities, all of these things is what she's receiving. Wow. Okay.
Scales are off and women just assume they get to have you. The taking in what's being given to them isn't there, and that in itself can become an addictive pattern.
Well, we're all breaking old patterns. Yeah, that's why you're here. That's why I came to this work originally. That's why we talk about this as breaking old unhealthy patterns. Take a look at the chat. Yeah.
All right. We're going to do one more question before we get up out of here. Thank you.
There's support for you in the chat, certainly, as always. You guys are great. I'm enjoying the me that was hidden. Yeah, this weekend we talked. She said, it's only been a little over a month since we had this separation. What happens if these things I'm slowly seeing change come back? Like if you revert back, I would not be able to deal with that emotionally or just at all. And then I said, I hear that, I feel that, but what if I don't? She was silent. We talked then about kids in the week ahead. Come on in. One thing, so I love the way you're seeing this, the way you're approaching this is slowly having compassion for her. One thing to be careful of, and let me ask you about this, Andrew, is, we can't promise perfection. Right? We can't promise that she's never going to feel XYZ kind of way anymore. So we have to be careful, because I think so you tell me.
Right there. Where does that come from? We cannot promise she's going to feel X, Y, and Z. Why? Because we know a woman's mind and emotions possibly can fluctuate. Does that mean she does not stand strong on her principles, morals, boundaries, and her do's and don'ts? It has nothing to do with that. It's just that some days she may want the air on in the car, windows up. Other days she may want fresh air, roll the windows down, turn the air off. That's just how that goes. Sometimes she may want hot mac and cheese. Sometimes she may want cold pasta salad. It just fluctuates. Now, mind you, earlier that day. She could have said, I want mac and cheese with the window up, air on. Y'all get in the car, windows down, turn the air off. I want fresh air and seafood salad. Bruh, if you've been dealing with women long enough, all of these things will take place. The man that truly loves that woman, the men that truly are set and built to be those of great companions, are those who just simply get the fact, I think different, you think different, but I accept and I embrace and I adore all of our differences as individuals equally. So with that being said,
my mic is muted.